Hello everyone, this is Michael Madden. I'm sitting here with Matt Engler. He's with Allied Inspection Services. We are actually going to be talking about septic inspections today. Where we're broadcasting from right now is Remax Unlimited Real Estate at 1040 Schott Avenue in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, which is over by the Super Walmart off MacArthur Road. So Matt, without further ado, if you could kind of introduce yourself and what you do, and then we'll get right into it as far as septic inspections.
Yes, everyone's favorite. I'm Matt Engler, Allied Inspection Services, actually celebrating 20 years in business
Awesome.
in the Lehigh Valley. So we're a full-service inspection company, of course, home inspections. We do septic inspections, which we're going to discuss today. We do mold testing, water sampling, radon testing, oil tank evaluations. So we do all kinds of testing inspections that are basically required, or not required necessarily, but elected for real estate transactions.
Awesome. And one of the things I really like about Matt's company is they really take an educational approach to educate the consumer about whatever topic it is. If you go onto their website, I think it's AlliedInspections.com.
AlliedInspection.com, yep.
Yeah, you can actually see the different topics, mold, radon, different things that are out there, and it has a good information for the general consumer so they understand what it is and what it isn't. So if you can talk a little bit about what the inspection process is, and then we'll kind of zero in on septic.
Yeah, I mean, inspections for the most part, home inspection is how this all started. But standards are king, and standards help protect everybody, reduce liability. So there's a couple of national organizations that adopted and established standards over the years.
Okay.
And pretty much any inspector out there has chosen one of two major affiliations to follow and abide by their standards. So the nice thing is, we're not that we're regulated in Pennsylvania, but we're all abiding by a similar standard. So the reality is, regardless of what inspector you call to go out there, we generally are looking for and reporting on the same information.
Okay.
So the things that differentiate us, there's a lot of differentiators, but the main thing is, as you alluded to already, is education and information.
Right.
It's one thing to conduct an inspection and record data and report the findings. It's another whole other arena to communicate the findings to the client, to make it so they make sense to the client, so they understand when they get a report that the 38 items that are maintenance and minor in nature aren't things that you would negotiate for. They're not going to impact your decision to buy the house. However, we want to present the information so they're aware of it, so that they know what to look for and what to be maintaining going forward when they occupy the house, versus highlighting the more critical, more expensive concerns that could impact your decision to buy the house, primarily financial issues.
Right.
New roof, new structural issues, systems, major mechanicals that could need replacement or need a repair. But I think the big thing is education. It is communicating. Knowledge is power, and that's what we want to do with our clients, make sure that they have the knowledge and information. So that's the big thing. Our report is tailored to that, so it's not just a checklist of things that are right or wrong. It goes into description, letting them know what kind of maintenance is involved with the system. So regardless of whether there's an issue with that system or not, they're still getting content in the report, so they understand what's going on, how these systems work, and more importantly, what kind of maintenance they need to do, how often they would need a professional to service it. So that ties it all together, but our guys, our inspectors, we pride on the fact that our guys are really just good, solid communicators. Their personal skills are good and solid. You can, for the most part, train anyone to be an inspector, but you can't teach someone how to deal and relate with people.
Right.
And there's a lot of people, as we know, involved in a transaction, from the
absolutely.
agents to the sellers to the buyers to
Right.
the moms and the dads and everybody else. So having the ability to kind of manage all of that and still be able to perform on site and communicate and create a relationship and establish a relationship with the clients, that's really, I think, our biggest strength overall.
Awesome. Well, if you could just start off by explaining what a septic system is. I know there's a lot of people that are coming in from New Jersey and New York that may be on public sewer, or they're actually renting a property and they never thought of, because our landlord deals with all that,
Yes.
what a septic system is and how it kind of works.
Yeah, that's hard to trim that one down, but basically, in essence, a septic system is, in the longer form of the term, is really an on-lot wastewater treatment system. So basically what you're dealing with is, if you don't have city sewer or access to city sewer, you have to treat all your wastewater right on your own property.
Right.
So these types of systems have been around for decades, millennia, and about controlling wastewater, way back into the Greeks and the Romans had systems to control wastewater. But the idea ultimately is in its simplicity, is you're taking all the waste from the house.
Right.
You're putting it into a system that's designed to separate solid waste from liquid waste, which is done in a treatment tank. And then the liquid waste is allowed to leave the treatment tank and go into some sort of system, an absorption system, where it ultimately is absorbed back into the earth. And then generally, depending on the soils, you're talking a couple feet down, you literally, the soils will renovate that water so that it's pure enough that you could actually drink it, and it's safe enough to be reintroduced into the water table.
Awesome.
So the solid waste then, as it accumulates in the tank, periodically needs to be pumped out. And again, depends on the size of the tank, their water usage, how many people live in the house, all that kind of stuff, all those variables. But generally, you're looking at about every 3 or so years, you get the tank pumped out to get the solids out. Meanwhile, water is always just going out to the absorption field and draining away.
And did they reach a full capacity at some point where they unuseful? I would imagine that after years and years and years of just dumping it into the same land, at some point it would.
Everything has a lifespan,
right,
as we know. And there's a lot of variables that determine that lifespan. But generally, what happens is the system being that the most critical, most expensive part is the absorption system. And the Earth's ability to absorb the water is really ultimately, it's dependent on how well it receives it. And what I mean by that is when you have a system, pretty much all systems start with some sort of layer of stone. And the stone is basically encapsulating perforated pipe.
Right.
So water leaving the tank gets distributed through these network of pipes, these manifolds. The pipe is entrenched in stone. The water then drains out of those pipes, levels out in this area of stone, and then drains down onto the surface of the earth and then goes into the earth from there.
Right.
What happens is where that stone meets the earth, that connection there over years and years and years, there is solid waste that is coming out. It's called the liquid or the effluent that leaves the tank, but there's solid particles in there.
Right.
And over years, they accumulate at that barrier between the bottom of the stone and the top of the earth. And what happens is they found that it forms what's called a biomat. And a bioorganic mat forms, and over time it becomes less and less permeable. So when it's new, water hits the stone, goes down, enters the earth, and goes right down. It disappears. Right. So the stone doesn't hold any water. As that biomat forms, the water level starts to accumulate on top of it. And it takes hydraulic force, a certain volume of water, to push through that biomat. And years go by, and it takes more and more hydraulic force, meaning the water level is rising.
Right.
The static water level in that bed, it goes up and up and up, and eventually it gets to a point where it's near or at or above the top of that stone aggregate, and at that point the system is actually deemed to be not operating the way it was designed to.
So is that a fixable issue?
Well, actually, they found it is fixable. The problem is, in the event of a real estate transaction, repairs aren't guaranteed and would take months, if not more, years, to actually prove and validate that they worked.
Right.
They found that a system, there are repairs out there, but they found that biomat, now that they've identified that's basically the root cause to the failure of systems. If air is introduced to it, because septic technically means without air.
Right.
If they can take a septic system and make it aerobic and insert air into the system, if that bed can be drained out and be pumped with air, the air will actually break down that biomat and ultimately restore it to normal. What's happened, or how they kind of came about that, is a system will reach the end of its life, whatever it is, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, whatever, and it goes bad and they put in a new system. That new system, eventually we found, will actually go bad and stop working. What they can do is they'll go back to the old system and find that here the system had completely regenerated itself. And they can go back to the original system. And if you got 15 years last time, probably get 15 years this time. Basically because it being dried out and having air all those years, that biomat just basically breaks down, goes away, and that system gets restored. So there are systems now, to the original question, that are designed to pump air into the system that would break down that biomat, that could restore the system. But again, it's not 100% guarantee, and it takes too long for it to validate that it actually performed.
Right.
So generally in a real estate transaction, unless concessions are made, generally it's a new system would have to be installed.
So is there a standard of inspection that is for the homeowner and a different standard for the mortgage company? Like, what is a mortgage company looking for? Is there a level of inspection that you have to do that satisfies their needs, that say, hey, we're gonna finance this?
Yeah, the mortgage company is a little different. It's not generally the mortgage company, it's the lending institution. Generally, if that's FHA or VA or rural housing, but generally mortgage does not require septic evaluation. They're generally looking at water quality.
Right.
Now, certain lenders may require some kind of certification on the septic, but they are not specific.
Right.
They want a certification, just like roof certs. They don't really care who writes it, what they do. It should be someone who's professional, certified, but an inspector per se. But ultimately, it's not required to have a septic system inspected for a mortgage.
I did not know that.
No, but we, as far as standards go, and this is probably the biggest misconception, because multiple companies out there will do septic inspections. Just calling and getting a price on the phone is you're shortchanging yourself, because based on price, we're going to lose hands down all the time. And it's not that we have an exceptional markup, it's that we conduct our inspection in accordance to the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association. So that's PSMA for short. And they are an organization that has established a set of standards to which you can assess the condition of an existing in-use system.
Okay.
So you're not paying for me to go out there and give you my opinion on the system. You're not paying for Ryan or Greg or Brock or any of us to give opinions. We are following a set of standards. So it's already been established, it's recognized. Other states have actually adopted these same standards. And they've been around for decades, so they're constantly being refined and improved. It's a good thing because it protects everyone, agents, sellers, inspectors, because we're not, it's not whether I agree or disagree, we are following it by the book.
Right.
We are required to record data to get this information to produce, or reach a conclusion and produce a report. So it's not opinion, it's all pretty much black and white. And the issue is, to be certified, to get that credential, is challenging. It takes a lot of effort. There's classes, there's continuing education, and if you're not, and they're hard to do because they're a weird thing. It's in the ground. You can't really. There's a lot you can't see. And we have simple hand tools that we're using to get really vital information. So training is critical. So the end all be all is a lot of inspectors don't follow the standard because they're just too involved and it's just a little too much work and they're not comfortable and confident in it without practice. But that's the big thing. So our guys are trained, PSMA certified. Our main guy who runs our septic division, his name's Brock. For those of you who have met him, can speak volumes about his character. He's a phenomenal guy. He loves this stuff. He's brilliant. He understands it. He's been involved in repairs and design and maintenance of these systems forever, over 15 years. And the best part about him, as I alluded to earlier, is not just his skill and knowledge, but he loves being with people. He loves explaining this stuff to people. People constantly are giving us good feedback on how much more confident they are in their understanding of a septic system. And even people who had them for years, buying a house with another septic and they feel they understand it, they're still commenting on how much they learned from this guy.
Right.
But the reality is you're paying for us to follow a set of standards, and it keeps us all safe and make sure that they're getting the right information.
Awesome. So we got about a minute left here. So if you could just touch upon, at the conclusion of your inspection, is it either pass, fail, or are you saying, hey, it's on its way out, you make another 5 years out of this?
There's really four conclusions. PSMA established four conclusions. It's either satisfactory, which means we didn't find anything that would warrant another concern. There's satisfactory with concerns. There's unsatisfactory, and then there's more investigation needed.
Okay.
So more investigation needed commonly is a big deterrent as far as price goes. Is hydraulic load testing is one of the biggest difference that set PSMA standards apart from any other kind of septic inspection you may order. And a hydraulic load test is basically a way of verifying that a system that isn't currently in use, so an unoccupied home, it's a way of verifying that the system actually still can perform. Okay. So it mimics the daily design flow of water for that system. It's clean water. It's a 2-day test. We bring our own water on our own truck to the site.
So that's something you do?
That is something that we do in-house. That's what Brock heads that department as well. So it's expensive. You're talking about a lot of capital investment with getting water, a big vehicle. It's 2 days. He's got to be out there to verify that that system is able to absorb that water in a 24-hour period. So those are $315 to start for a hydraulic load test. So calling and ordering a septic inspection on a house you're buying, and you get a quote from one guy that says 125,
Right.
and then you get a quote from us that says 590. It's night and day.
So is that,
So it's-
if you're doing an inspection and you determine that that's required, is that an additional cost, like you?
the hydraulic load test, yes.
So you would talk to the homeowner about the size, and that's, I guess, dependent on the size of the actual system and how much water you need to.
Yeah,
determine what's going
when the
on.
buyer is calling and ordering the inspections, our office will ask them if, once they bring up the fact that there's a septic system and they're getting it inspected, is the property occupied? Is
Right.
pretty much the first question.
Okay.
And they go through that, and basically occupancy is it currently lived in a normal use?
Right.
So 7 days is basically the line in the sand. If it's been vacant for more than 7 days, PSMA requires that a hydraulic load test be performed. Yep.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna end this for now, and then if you could reiterate your contact information.
Yes, Allied Inspection, www.alliedinspection.com is our website. A lot of good content there, especially on septic, a lot of documents there, links to PSMA standards, psma.net, also a great resource. But to schedule anything with us, 610-437-6931 is our direct number to our office, Monday through Friday till 7 and Saturdays till 2.
Awesome. And my name's Michael Madden. I'm a realtor with Remax Unlimited Real Estate over in Shad Avenue in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. My contact information is michaelmadden@aol.com. My phone number is 484-553-6992. And my website address is michaelmadden.realtor. So we're signing off for now. And then just one quick thing that I think would be helpful for other real estate friends that I have is your app. If you could talk just 30 seconds about your app. How that kind of works.
Yeah, real estate dashboard. So all agents out there, basically, if you send us a message, reach out to us, we can send you a link to this. It's a really cool feature. It allows you, basically does 3 main things. Number one is it allows you to update your contact information. So if you change your profile picture, you switch offices, you add a website, you can change all that detail right through the app. You can schedule inspections with us, which is pretty important this time of year when contracts are signed over the weekend. Calling an office on a Monday morning can be painful. So you have the opportunity right on your app to do it. It could be midnight, and look for available times and start booking and locking in an inspection. And probably the coolest part is the fact that any inspection you do with us, all of the reports are accessible right through the app. So you open up the app. We did the property inspection last month or 2 years ago. You'd be able to open it and be able to view all the reports. So the termite, the radon, the septic, any report inspection we did, those reports are available.
Awesome. All right, so that's all for now, and we'll talk
I
to you
have
soon.
one last thing. I did all this talk about
Oh, here we
septic.
go.
I don't know if you wanted some chocolate milk
No.
to cap off the septic conversation. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you.